Jesus took a mustard seed and said, "This much ye will need." And Jesus took up a child and said, "Become meek and mild." And Jesus took a loaf of bread and broke it over his head. Jesus asked what Peter meant when Peter said he'd built 3 tents. And Peter never knew what to say, but something always blasted out. And everyone would settle down, but Peter felt casted out. Jesus took the 3 to pray and said, "I've reached my final day." And Jesus took some time alone, as far as the cast of a stone. And Jesus took the agony for giving all for Calvary. Jesus turned to the sounds of torchlights, clubs on the grounds. And Peter struck with his sword and cut off a servant's ear. And Jesus told Peter to stand down and asked, "Why you men here?" And he said they had to bring him in so that he could stand trial. And Jesus said he'd done nothing wrong, but they said he was in denial. Jesus took that lonesome night without comfort, warmth, or light. And Jesus took on their words as the wall of the city takes on swords. And Jesus took up his cross, saying, "Weep not for me or what ye lost." And Jesus paid the debt in full. It cannot be made void or null. And meanwhile Peter was with the others behind a locked door. And Peter was beset with tears for what he'd done the night before. Mary said, "'Tis far, far worse than things I did on that hill. I heard my son cry out, 'Father, forgive them still.'" Peter went out on a boat, grumpy as an ancient goat. And Peter rubbed his manna hands, thinking of distant islands. Then Peter saw a speck of light, prayed to God with all his might. His eyes were cast in the sea, and his heart swam the Galilee. And Jesus was standing there as sure as was heaven shore. And Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Of these do you love me more?" And Peter returned word for word the horrible words he made. And afterwards Jesus asked aside, "Would you place Son of Man in the shade?"